The camera flash exploded across Maya Washington's face like lightning, and she instinctively raised her hand to cover the left side of her face, the side with the scars. But it was too late. The reporter had already captured the shot. "Miss Washington, is it true you're dating Korean singer Park Jin-woo?" The journalist's voice cut through the chaos outside Seattle Children's Hospital like a blade. "How long have you been hiding this relationship?" Maya's amber eyes darted frantically across the crowd of reporters that had somehow materialized outside her workplace. Her butterfly necklace, the one her grandmother gave her, caught the harsh lights as her chest rose and fell with panicked breaths. Behind her, the hospital's glass doors reflected her image. A woman exposed, vulnerable, her carefully constructed walls crumbling in real time. I don't know what you're talking about," she stammered, her voice barely audible above the cacophony of questions. But then she saw it. On the reporter's phone screen, the video was already playing. Jin-woo at his underground concert 3 nights ago, dedicating a song to the angel with amber eyes who taught me that scars are just proof that you're stronger than whatever tried to break you. The camera had zoomed in on Maya in the crowd, her face illuminated by the stage lights, tears streaming down both her scarred and unscarred cheeks. "The video has over 2 million views," the reporter continued relentlessly. "Our sources say Park Jin-woo fled Korea after a mental breakdown. Are you aware of his psychiatric history?" Maya's world tilted. The butterfly necklace felt like it was choking her. Everything she'd built, her careful anonymity, her protective solitude, her safe existence, was disintegrating with each camera click. Her phone buzzed. A text from Jin-woo. "Maya, I can explain everything. Please don't watch the news. Please don't." But she was already watching. On the reporter's tablet, a headline blazed. "K-pop star's secret American girlfriend, the scarred woman who captured his heart." "Miss Washington, will you be returning to Korea with him?" another voice shouted. Maya looked up at the hospital's pediatric ward windows, where she knew 12-year-old Lily was probably watching. The same Lily who'd told her just yesterday that she wanted to be brave like Maya when she grew up. The same children who saw her scars and called them warrior marks. The crowd pressed closer. More phones appeared. More questions flew like arrows. And in that moment, Maya Washington had to make the choice that would either destroy her carefully guarded heart or force her to finally, terrifyingly, choose love over fear. What would you do if the whole world suddenly knew your deepest secret, and the person you love most might be the reason why? If you're already invested in Maya and Jin-woo's story, make sure you're subscribed so you don't miss what happens next. Because this is just the beginning. 3 weeks earlier, the autumn rain in Seattle fell like a curtain between Maya Washington and the rest of the world, exactly how she preferred it. She hurried down the slick sidewalk toward Children's Hospital, her lab coat collar turned up against the wind, when her heel caught a loose stone near Pike Place Market. The files scattered across the wet pavement like fallen leaves, and Maya dropped to her knees, frantically gathering the therapy reports before the rain could destroy them. That's when she heard it. A guitar melody so haunting it made her chest ache. "Are you okay?" The voice carried a slight accent, warm despite the cold morning. Maya looked up to see a young man with messy black hair and the saddest dark eyes she'd ever encountered. He was sitting cross-legged against the market wall, an acoustic guitar across his lap, a small crowd of early commuters dropping coins into his open case. "I'm always okay," Maya said automatically, her hand instinctively moving to shield the left side of her face as she gathered the last of her papers. But something made her pause. Maybe it was the way he was looking at her, not with pity or curiosity about her scars, but with genuine concern. Or maybe it was the melody he'd been playing. something that sounded like longing wrapped in hope. "Your music," she said softly. "It's beautiful." Jinwoo's fingers stilled on the strings. "It's about finding something you thought you'd lost forever." Their eyes met for exactly 3 seconds. Maya counted, because 3 seconds was her limit before people started to stare at the scars. But he didn't stare. He just saw her. Maya stood quickly, clutching her files. "I have to go. I'm late for work." As she hurried away, she didn't notice the photograph that had slipped from her folder and was now lying face up on the wet pavement. Maya, surrounded by a group of children at the hospital, all of them beaming at the camera, her scars clearly visible, but her smile radiant and unguarded. Jinwoo picked up the photo, studying the woman who'd just disappeared into the rain. In the picture, she looked like she was glowing from the inside out. He had to find her again. But Maya Washington had spent 3 years perfecting the art of disappearing, and she had no intention of being found. Park Jinwoo had been running for 6 months, from Seoul, from his family's expectations, from the suffocating weight of a K-pop industry that had nearly killed him. Seattle's underground music scene was supposed to be his refuge, but as he sat in Marcus Thompson's cramped recording studio, he felt more lost than ever. "You've got talent, kid," Marcus said, adjusting his vintage glasses as Jinwoo's fingers moved across the guitar strings. "But you're holding back. There's something you're not letting out." Jinwoo's wrist tattoo, a small bird breaking free from cage bars, seemed to pulse under the studio lights. "In Korea, they teach you to perform emotions, not feel them. This isn't Korea." Marcus leaned back in his chair, his expression gentle but firm. "Here, authenticity matters more than perfection." "What made you pick up a guitar in the first place?" The question hung in the air like smoke. Jinwoo thought about the girl from this morning, the way her amber eyes had reflected something broken and beautiful all at once. He'd written 3 songs about her already, melodies that poured out of him like water through a broken dam. "I met someone today," Jinwoo said quietly. She had these scars on her face, but when she smiled, "Marcus, I've never seen anything more beautiful in my life." "Then write about her." "I don't even know her name." Marcus smiled. "The best songs are about the people who haunt us." Jinwoo's phone buzzed with a text from his mother in Seoul. "Your father is worried. When are you coming home?" He turned the phone face down without responding. "There's something else," Marcus continued. "I got you a spot at the Underground tomorrow night. Small venue, intimate crowd. Time to see if you can make people feel something." Jinwoo nodded, but his mind was still on the photograph tucked in his guitar case. The image of a woman who looked like she'd discovered joy despite having every reason not to. He had to return it to her. That was the right thing to do. But deep down, Jinwoo knew he was looking for an excuse to see her again, to understand why a stranger's broken smile had cracked something open inside his chest. Tomorrow, he'd find the courage to go to the hospital. Tonight, he'd write songs about amber eyes and warrior scars. Maya's hands trembled as she worked with 7-year-old Aiden, helping him relearn how to grip a crayon after his accident. The occupational therapy room was her sanctuary. Bright walls covered with children's artwork, adaptive tools organized with military precision, and the kind of controlled environment where she could focus on healing others instead of confronting her own wounds. "Miss Maya, why do you touch your necklace when you're sad?" Aiden asked, his small fingers struggling with the crayon but determined to keep trying. Maya's hand flew to the butterfly pendant at her throat. "I'm not sad, sweetheart. My mom touches her ring when she thinks about my dad," Aiden continued innocently, "before he went away to heaven." Sarah Chen appeared in the doorway, her colorful scrubs a bright spot against the neutral walls. "Aiden, Your grandmother is here to pick you up." As Aiden gathered his artwork, he looked up at Maya with the earnest wisdom that only children possess. "Miss Maya, do butterflies remember being caterpillars?" The question caught Maya off guard. I don't know, honey." "I think they do," Aiden said solemnly. "That's why they're not scared of being different." After he left, Sarah closed the door and fixed Maya with that look. The one that said she was about to push boundaries Maya had spent years carefully constructing. "Dr. E. Martinez wants to see you in her office," Sarah said. "And before you ask, no, you're not in trouble. Though we need to talk about this whole hermit thing you've got going on." "I'm not a hermit. I'm focused." "Maya, when's the last time you went on a date? Or even had a conversation with someone who isn't 7 years old or wearing scrubs?" Maya turned to organize supplies that were already perfectly organized. "I'm fine, Sarah. You're 28, and you act like your life ended in that car accident. But you saved that little girl, Maya. You're a hero, not a victim. Heroes don't hide from mirrors." Sarah's expression softened. "Your scars don't define you. Why can't you see what the rest of us see?" But Maya was already walking toward Dr. Martinez's office, her butterfly necklace catching the fluorescent light like a beacon she wasn't ready to follow. Behind her, Sarah shook her head, wondering what it would take for her best friend to realize that some wounds were meant to become windows, not walls. Jinwoo stood outside Seattle Children's Hospital at 2:47 p.m., the photograph burning like a secret in his jacket pocket. He'd changed clothes 3 times, practiced what he'd say in English, and walked around the block twice before finally approaching the information desk. "I'm looking for someone," he said to the receptionist, his accent more pronounced when he was nervous. "She works here. Occupational therapy, maybe?" The elderly volunteer behind the desk smiled kindly. "Do you have a name, dear?" Jinwoo realized he was holding his breath. No, but I have her photograph." He pulled out the image carefully, as if it were made of glass. The volunteer's face lit up immediately. "Oh, that's Maya Washington. Sweet girl. She's probably in the pediatric wing." The woman leaned closer, conspiratorially. "Are you a friend of hers? Because between you and me, that girl needs more friends. Always so serious, always working." Jinwoo felt his heart do something complicated in his chest. Maya. Her name was Maya. "I found her photograph," he said simply. "I wanted to return it." The volunteer gave him directions, and Jinwoo found himself walking through hallways that smelled like disinfectant and hope, past rooms where children's laughter mixed with the beeping of medical equipment. It reminded him of visiting his grandmother in the hospital in Busan, the way sadness and healing could exist in the same space. He found the occupational therapy wing and paused outside a room where he could see Maya working with a small boy, her movements gentle and patient as she helped him manipulate colored blocks. She was wearing a simple blue dress under her lab coat, and her long braids were pulled back in a neat ponytail. The scars on the left side of her face caught the afternoon light. But what struck Jinwoo most was her smile, completely unguarded as she praised the child's progress. She was beautiful, not despite the scars, but including them, because they were part of her story. Jinwoo knocked softly on the doorframe. Maya looked up, and her expression shifted from warmth to wariness in an instant. Her hand moved automatically to her necklace, then to shield her scars. "You," she said quietly. "I came to return this." Jinwoo held out the photograph, his English careful and precise. "You dropped it this morning." Maya stared at the image of herself surrounded by smiling children, seeing herself the way they saw her, whole, unbroken, loved. "Thank you," she whispered, accepting the photo with fingers that barely brushed his. "In the picture," Jinwoo said softly, "you look like you're exactly where you belong." Maya's amber eyes met his dark ones for exactly 3 seconds, but this time, she didn't look away first. "You invited a complete stranger to the children's ward?" Sarah's voice pitched higher with each word as she cornered Maya in the staff break room. "Maya, what were you thinking?" Maya poured coffee with hands that weren't quite steady. "He plays guitar. Music therapy is proven to help with pediatric recovery." "Since when do you care about music therapy?" Since a sad-eyed Korean musician made her feel seen for the first time in 3 years, Maya thought, but didn't say. Instead, she focused on the coffee that tasted like cardboard and regret. "It was a moment of weakness," Maya said finally. "I'll cancel." "Don't you dare." Dr. Elena Martinez appeared in the doorway, her silver hair perfectly styled despite the chaos of a hospital day. "I heard about your musician friend. The children could use something special." Maya's supervisor moved with the grace of someone who'd learned to carry both authority and compassion. The small scar on Dr. Martinez's neck, a reminder of her own battle with cancer, caught the light as she poured herself coffee. "Elena, you don't understand," Maya began. "I don't know anything about this guy. He could be what? Kind, thoughtful, someone who sees past surface wounds to the person underneath." Dr. Martinez's knowing look made Maya's cheeks burn. "Maya, you've spent 3 years building walls. Maybe it's time to build a door instead." An hour later, Jinwoo arrived carrying his guitar case and a bag of small instruments, tambourines, maracas, simple percussion tools. Maya met him at the elevator, hyper-aware of how her heart rate increased when he smiled. "I wasn't sure you'd come," she admitted as they rode up to the pediatric wing. "I keep my promises," Jinwoo said simply. "Besides, I've been thinking about your photograph all day. Those children, they look at you like you're magic." Maya's laugh came out more bitter than she intended. "Children see things that aren't there. Or maybe adults stop seeing things that are." The elevator doors opened to reveal 12 children gathered in the activity room, their faces bright with anticipation. Some were in wheelchairs, others connected to portable IVs, but all of them radiated the kind of hope that only existed in pediatric wards. "Everyone, this is Jinwoo," Maya announced, her voice steadier than she felt. "He's going to play music for us." 8-year-old Lily, recovering from spinal surgery, raised her hand. "Are you Maya's boyfriend?" Maya's face flamed red, but Jinwoo just laughed, a sound like water over stones. "I'm her new friend. Is that okay?" As Jinwoo tuned his guitar, Maya found herself studying his hands, the way his fingers moved with practiced gentleness across the strings. When he began to play, a soft, haunting melody that seemed to wrap around the room like a lullaby, something inside Maya's chest loosened for the first time in years. The children were mesmerized, but Maya found herself watching Jinwoo's face, the way his eyes closed when he played, as if the music was a conversation with something sacred inside himself. When the song ended, 10-year-old Marcus asked, "Can you play something happy?" Jinwoo's eyes found Maya's. "I know just the song." And as he began a melody that sounded like sunrise after the longest night, Maya realized she was smiling, really smiling, without thinking to hide her scars. For the first time in 3 years, she felt beautiful. The underground was packed by the time Jinwoo took the stage, a sea of faces illuminated by string lights, and the glow of phones recording everything. Maya sat at a corner table, partially hidden in shadow. her heart hammering against her ribs as she watched the man who'd somehow become important to her prepare to bare his soul to strangers. She almost hadn't come. Sarah had practically dragged her from the hospital, insisting that supporting friends is what normal people do, Maya. But sitting here now, watching Jin-woo adjust his microphone with nervous fingers, Maya felt anything but normal. "Good evening, Seattle." Jin-woo's voice carried that slight accent that made something flutter in Maya's chest. "Tonight, I want to share some songs about finding unexpected light in dark places. The first song was haunting, melancholy, something about running from ghosts and trying to outpace your own shadow." Maya found herself leaning forward, caught up in the raw emotion in his voice. But it was the second song that changed everything. "This one," Jin-woo said, his eyes scanning the crowd until they found Maya in her dark corner, "is about meeting someone who teaches you that scars aren't flaws. They're proof of survival." The melody that followed was the one she'd heard that first rainy morning at Pike Place Market. But now there were words, and Maya realized with dawning horror and wonder that he was singing about her. "Amber eyes like autumn light, stories written on your skin, every mark a battle won, every scar where strength begins." The crowd was swaying, phones recording, some people crying. But Maya could only stare at Jin-woo, feeling simultaneously exposed and cherished, terrified and treasured. When the song ended, the applause was thunderous. Someone shouted, "Who's the song about?" And Jin-woo's smile was soft and secret as he said, "Someone who taught me that beauty isn't about being unmarked. It's about being unafraid." After his set, Maya waited by the back exit, her emotions a tangle of gratitude and panic. When Jin-woo emerged, guitar case in hand, he stopped short at seeing her. "Maya, you came." "That song," she said, her voice barely audible above the city noise. "You wrote that about me. I hope you don't mind. When I look at you, that's what I see." Maya touched her butterfly necklace, the gesture automatic when her emotions threatened to overflow. "No one's ever written a song about me before. No one's ever made me want to write songs about courage before." They stood there in the alley, the space between them charged with possibility and fear. Maya wanted to step closer, wanted to believe that someone could look at her scars and see strength instead of damage. Instead, she took a step back. "I should go," she whispered. "Maya, wait." But she was already disappearing into the Seattle night, leaving Jin-woo standing under the streetlight with questions and half-finished melodies, wondering what it would take for her to stop running from the very thing that might save them both. Maya's phone buzzed against her nightstand at 6:17 a.m., pulling her from dreams of guitar melodies and dark eyes. The text was from Sarah. "Maya, you need to call me right now." Still groggy, Maya stumbled to her kitchen and dialed Sarah's number while her coffee brewed. Sarah answered on the first ring. "Please tell me you haven't been online yet." Sarah's voice was tight with concern. "I just woke up. Why? What's wrong?" "Someone recorded Jin-woo's performance last night. The video's gone viral. Maya, he dedicated that song to the angel with amber eyes, and the camera caught you in the audience. Your face is everywhere." Maya's coffee mug slipped from her numb fingers, shattering against the kitchen floor in a spray of ceramic and caffeine. "What do you mean everywhere?" YouTube, TikTok, Instagram. The song has been shared millions of times. People are calling it the most beautiful love song they've ever heard, and they're trying to figure out who you are. Maya sank to the floor among the broken pieces of her mug, her hands shaking as she opened her phone. The video was the first thing that appeared on her social media feed. Jin-woo on stage, spotlights catching the emotion on his face as he sang about amber eyes and scars that tell stories of courage. And there, in a brief moment when the camera panned across the audience, was Maya, tears streaming down her face, completely unguarded, beautiful and broken and real. The comments were overwhelming. "Who is this girl? She's gorgeous." The way he looks at her. "I'm crying. Find the amber-eyed girl. This is true love. Her scars make her even more beautiful." But mixed in with the romance were the questions that made Maya's chest tight with panic. Is this staged for publicity? Why is she hiding in the shadows? Who is Park Jin-woo really? Maya scrolled frantically, her breath coming in short gasps. The song had 2.3 million views and climbing. Music blogs were analyzing the lyrics. Someone had started a hashtag, Find Amber Eyes. Her phone rang. Dr. Martinez. "Maya, I just saw the video. Are you all right?" "Elena, I can't come to work today. I can't. People will recognize me." "Maya, listen to me. What I saw in that video was a young woman allowing herself to feel something beautiful. There's nothing shameful about that. You don't understand. They're going to want to know everything. About the accident, about my scars, about why I was hiding in the dark. Then you tell them the truth. That you're a talented occupational therapist who helps children heal. That your scars are from saving a child's life. That you're human and worthy of love." After Dr. Martinez hung up, Maya sat on her kitchen floor surrounded by coffee and broken ceramic, watching the view counter on Jin-woo's video climb higher and higher. Somewhere in the city, a Korean musician was probably discovering that his spontaneous love song had changed both their lives forever. Maya's phone buzzed with a text from an unknown number. "Maya, it's Jin-woo. We need to talk." But talking was the last thing Maya Washington wanted to do. Because how do you explain to someone that being seen, really seen, is the thing you want most and fear most in the world? Jin-woo found Maya sitting on a bench in Myrtle Edwards Park, staring out at Elliott Bay as ferries cut white trails through the gray water. She looked smaller somehow, hunched inside an oversized sweater, her braids tucked under a baseball cap that cast shadows across her face. "You're not easy to find when you don't want to be found," he said softly, settling beside her on the bench. "Sarah told you where I was." Maya's voice was flat, defeated. "She's worried about you. We all are." "We?" Maya laughed bitterly. "Jin-woo, 3 days ago I was invisible. Now I have people commenting on my grocery store choices because someone spotted me buying milk. Do you know what that feels like?" Jin-woo was quiet for a moment, watching a seagull dive for fish in the choppy water. "Actually, I do." Something in his tone made Maya turn to look at him. Really look. For the first time, she noticed the tension in his shoulders, the way he kept glancing over his shoulder, the exhaustion that lived behind his eyes. "There's something I haven't told you," Jin-woo continued, "about who I was before I came to Seattle, about why I'm here." Maya felt something cold settle in her stomach. "What do you mean?" Jin-woo pulled out his phone, scrolled to a news article and handed it to her. The headline was in Korean, but the photo was clear. A younger version of Jin-woo on stage, surrounded by 4 other young men, all of them in coordinated outfits, faces perfect and polished. "Stellar Force." Maya read the English translation aloud. "One of Korea's biggest K-pop groups." She looked up at Jin-woo, understanding dawning. "You're Park Jin-woo, the Park Jin-woo who disappeared after a mental breakdown on live television. I never told you because I wanted to be just Jin-woo with you. The guy who plays guitar and writes songs, not the idol who couldn't handle the pressure and cracked in front of 50 million viewers. Maya stared at the article, reading about panic attacks, exhaustion, the crushing weight of perfection expected from K-pop stars. So when you wrote that song about me, it was real. Everything I feel for you is real. The music industry version of me was the performance, Maya. This us is the first genuine thing I've felt in years. A photographer appeared on the path above them, camera with a telephoto lens pointed in their direction. Jinwoo swore softly in Korean and pulled Maya behind a tree. "This is what I was afraid of," Maya whispered, her breathing shallow. "They're going to tear us apart just to see what's inside." Jinwoo cupped her face gently, his thumbs brushing across her cheekbones, both the scarred and unscarred sides. "Then we don't let them. We tell our story before they can twist it. I can't do interviews, Jinwoo. I can't stand in front of cameras and explain why I look the way I do. Then I'll do it. I'll tell them about the bravest woman I've ever met, who saves children and heals people and writes beauty into the world every single day." Maya closed her eyes, leaning into his touch despite every instinct telling her to run. What if this ruins everything? What if we're not strong enough for the kind of attention we're getting? What if we are? But as another photographer appeared on the beach below them, Maya pulled away from Jinwoo's hands, her decision crystallizing like ice in her chest. "I need time," she whispered. "I need to think." And for the second time in a week, Maya Washington disappeared, leaving Jinwoo alone with his questions and the growing certainty that loving someone meant being willing to fight the entire world for them. But first, he had to figure out how to fight for someone who was still learning to fight for herself. Sarah Chen had reached her limit. She stood outside Maya's apartment at 7 a.m. with coffee, bagels, and enough stubborn determination to move mountains. When Maya didn't answer the door after 5 minutes of knocking, Sarah used the spare key Maya had given her for emergencies. She found her best friend on the couch, laptop open, scrolling through endless social media posts about her and Jinwoo. Maya looked like she hadn't slept in days. "Okay, intervention time," Sarah announced, setting down the coffee and closing Maya's laptop with decisive finality. "We're talking." "There's nothing to talk about," Maya mumbled, pulling a throw pillow over her face. "I'm waiting for this to blow over." "Maya Washington, I have watched you hide from your own life for 3 years. I stood by while you turned down dates, avoided social events, and convinced yourself that you're somehow less worthy of love because of scars that prove you're a hero. But I will not watch you sabotage the first real connection you've made since the accident." Maya peeked out from behind the pillow. "You don't understand the pressure. I understand that you saved a 7-year-old girl's life and nearly died doing it. I understand that instead of seeing yourself as brave, you see yourself as broken. And I understand that Jinwoo looks at you like you hung the moon, and that terrifies you more than any paparazzi ever could." Sarah sat on the coffee table, forcing Maya to meet her eyes. "Do you remember what you said to me when David and I were having problems last year? You told me that love isn't about finding someone perfect. It's about finding someone whose broken pieces fit with yours. That's different." "How is it different?" Maya sat up slowly, her butterfly necklace tangled in her hair from tossing and turning. "Because you're beautiful, Sarah. You don't have to worry about people staring, or wondering why someone would choose you, or whether you're just a charity case. Stop." Sarah's voice was sharp enough to cut glass. "Maya, I'm going to say something that's going to hurt, but you need to hear it. The only person in your life who sees you as damaged is you. Your scars don't make you less beautiful. Your inability to see your own worth does." Maya's eyes filled with tears. "What if I'm not brave enough? What if I try to let him in and I just break? Then you break, And then you heal. Because that's what brave people do. They try anyway. Sarah pulled out her phone and showed Maya a screenshot. This is what people are really saying about you online. She's stunning. Her scars tell a story of courage. I hope she knows how beautiful she is. Maya, the world is seeing what we've all seen for years. The only person who needs convincing is you. Maya stared at the comments, reading words like inspiring and gorgeous and real beauty, feeling something shift inside her chest. Jinwoo texted me. Sarah continued gently. He's giving a press conference tomorrow. He's going to tell his side of the story, and he wants to protect you from the media circus. But Maya, if you don't fight for this, if you don't show up for the love that's right in front of you, you're going to regret it for the rest of your life. Maya looked at her best friend, seeing not just concern but fierce protective love. What if I disappoint him? What if you don't? For the first time in days, Maya Washington smiled a real smile, the kind that reached her eyes and made her scars look like silver threads in sunlight. Help me figure out what to wear to a press conference? Sarah's answering grin could have powered the entire city of Seattle. The press conference was scheduled for 2 p.m. at Marcus Thompson's recording studio, but by 1:30, the street was packed with reporters, cameras, and curious onlookers. Jinwoo stood at the window, watching the chaos, his hands trembling slightly as he adjusted his black button-down shirt for the 10th time. You sure about this, kid? Marcus asked, his producer instincts warring with his paternal concern. Once you say this stuff on camera, there's no taking it back. I'm sure. Jinwoo's voice was steadier than his hands. She deserves to have someone defend her. What if she doesn't show? Jinwoo had been asking himself the same question all morning. Maya hadn't responded to his texts, hadn't called back, hadn't given him any sign that she would be there. But he had to believe that the woman who sang lullabies to sick children and wrote hope into broken places would find the courage to fight for something worth keeping. At exactly 2 p.m., Jinwoo walked to the microphone setup in the studio's main room. The space was packed with journalists, cameras, and recording equipment. He found his anchor point, Marcus standing near the back, nodding encouragingly, and began. My name is Park Jinwoo. 6 months ago, I was a member of the K-pop group Stellar Force. Today, I'm here to talk about why I left Korea, and about the remarkable woman who helped me remember why I fell in love with music in the first place. The room was dead silent except for camera shutters. I suffered a panic attack during a live performance last year. The pressure to be perfect, to never show weakness or authentic emotion, nearly destroyed me. I came to Seattle to find myself again, to make music that mattered instead of music that sold. Jinwoo's eyes scanned the crowd, still hoping to see familiar amber eyes in the back of the room. 3 weeks ago, I met Maya Washington. She's an occupational therapist who helps children recover from traumatic injuries. When I met her, I saw someone who had survived something terrible and chose to use that survival to heal others. Her strength inspired me to write music that was real instead of manufactured. A reporter called out, "What about her scars? Is it true she was disfigured in an accident?" Jinwoo's jaw tightened. Maya Washington is one of the most beautiful people I've ever met. Her scars are from a car accident where she saved a child's life at the risk of her own. They're proof of her courage, not flaws to be hidden. Are you dating her for publicity? I'm not dating her at all, Jinwoo said quietly, and the admission felt like swallowing glass. Because she's convinced that someone like me couldn't genuinely care for someone like her. Because a world that worships manufactured perfection has taught her that authentic beauty isn't valuable. That's when he saw her. Maya, standing just inside the studio doorway, wearing a simple blue dress and her grandmother's butterfly necklace, her scars visible and her chin raised with quiet determination. Their eyes met across the room, and Jinwoo felt his heart restart. "But if Maya is listening," he continued, never looking away from her face, "I want her to know that every song I write is about finding something real in a fake world. And the realest thing I've found is the way she sees past the surface of everything, including me." Maya took a step forward, then another, the crowd of reporters parting like a sea as she walked toward the front of the room. Cameras flashed and questions flew, but she only had eyes for Jinwoo. "Maya Washington," she said into the microphone, her voice clear and strong. "And I'm here because someone taught me that being seen isn't something to fear. It's something to choose." The room erupted, but Jinwoo barely heard the noise. Because Maya Washington, the bravest person he'd ever met, had just chosen to be seen. And she'd chosen to be seen with him. "This is insane," Maya breathed, looking out at the crowd gathered in Volunteer Park for Jinwoo's impromptu concert. Word had spread through social media after the press conference, and now hundreds of people sat on blankets under the stars, phone flashlights creating a constellation of light in the darkness. "Are you having second thoughts?" Jinwoo asked, tuning his guitar as they stood behind the makeshift stage Marcus had somehow arranged in 4 hours. Maya touched her butterfly necklace, no longer a nervous gesture, but a conscious choice to remember her grandmother's words about metamorphosis requiring both breakdown and rebuilding. "No, but I'm terrified." "Good terrified or bad terrified?" "The kind where you know you're about to change forever and there's no going back." Jinwoo set down his guitar and took her hands. "Maya, we don't have to do this. We could walk away right now, find somewhere quiet, figure this out in private." Maya looked out at the crowd. Couples holding hands, families with children, elderly people who'd brought folding chairs, teenagers recording everything on their phones. In the front row, she spotted some familiar faces. Sarah and David, Dr. Martinez with her husband, and amazingly, a group of her kids from the hospital with their parents. 8-year-old Lily waved excitedly when she caught Maya's eye, holding up a handmade sign that read, "Maya is our hero," in crooked purple letters. "They're here for us," Maya said wonderingly. "All these people showed up because they believe in what we have. What do we have, Maya?" She turned to face him, seeing her reflection in his dark eyes. "Something worth fighting for." Jinwoo lifted their joined hands and kissed her knuckles softly. "Then let's give them a show." Maya had never thought of herself as someone who belonged on a stage, but when Jinwoo introduced her as the woman who taught me that scars are just love marks from the universe, she felt something shift inside her chest. She wasn't performing. She was simply being herself, completely and authentically, in front of strangers who'd somehow become invested in her story. Jinwoo played the song he'd written about her first, and this time Maya didn't hide in the shadows. She stood beside him, her hand resting on his shoulder, adding harmonies to the verses about amber eyes and warrior scars. Her voice was untrained but honest, and when the crowd sang along to the chorus, Maya felt like she was flying. But it was the last song that broke her heart wide open. "This one's new," Jinwoo said into the microphone. "I wrote it this afternoon, about learning to love someone brave enough to love you back." The melody was gentle, hopeful, built around the words Maya had spoken at the press conference. Being seen isn't something to fear. It's something to choose. As Jinwoo sang about choosing vulnerability, choosing trust, choosing love despite the risk of being hurt, Maya felt tears streaming down her face. When the song ended, the applause was thunderous, but Maya barely heard it. Because Jinwoo was looking at her like she was every sunset he'd ever wanted to see. And for the first time in 3 years, Maya Washington felt beautiful not despite her scars, but including them. "I love you," she whispered, the words carrying clearly through his microphone to the entire crowd. Jinwoo's smile was brighter than all the phone flashlights combined. "I love you too, Maya Washington, scars and all." As the crowd cheered, Maya realized that being seen, really, truly seen, wasn't the terrifying exposure she'd always imagined. It was coming home. The next morning brought chaos in the form of interview requests, record deal offers, and a media frenzy that made the previous week look like a whisper. Maya's phone buzzed constantly with calls from producers, journalists, and morning show bookers, all wanting to capitalize on what the internet had dubbed the most romantic love story of the year. But Maya was at work, because Mondays meant occupational therapy sessions with her kids, and no amount of viral fame could change her priorities. "Miss Maya," Lily bounced in her wheelchair as Maya entered the activity room. "I saw you on TV. You were so brave." "We all saw," added Marcus, the 10-year-old who'd been working on regaining fine motor control after a climbing accident. "My mom cried during your song." Maya felt her cheeks warm as she set up the day's activities: adaptive utensils, coordination exercises, art supplies arranged with military precision. "You guys were supposed to be sleeping, not watching late-night concerts." "Miss Maya," Aiden said seriously, "are you going to marry the guitar man?" "Aiden, that's very personal," Maya began, but Lily interrupted. "She should marry him. He wrote a song about her scars being beautiful. That's like a fairy tale." Dr. Martinez appeared in the doorway, her expression a mixture of amusement and maternal concern. "Children, let's give Miss Maya some space to breathe. She's had a very eventful few days." As the kids reluctantly returned to their exercises, Dr. Martinez pulled Maya aside. "How are you handling all this attention?" Maya glanced around the therapy room. Her sanctuary, the place where she'd learned to heal others while avoiding healing herself. "It's overwhelming, but also freeing. I spent 3 years hiding, and now the whole world has seen me at my most vulnerable, and I'm still here. I'm still whole. Maya, I need to tell you something." Dr. Martinez's voice carried a weight that made Maya look up sharply. "I've been offered a position at a children's hospital in Portland. Department head, bigger budget, more resources." Maya felt the floor shift beneath her feet. "Are you leaving?" "I'm considering it. But first I wanted to ask if you'd be interested in taking over as department head here." "You're ready, Maya. You've always been ready. You just needed to believe it yourself." The offer hung in the air like a question mark, beautiful and terrifying in equal measure. Maya thought about the last 3 years, how she'd poured herself into her work while avoiding anything that felt like personal growth or risk. "I'll need to think about it," Maya said finally. "Of course. But Maya?" Dr. Martinez smiled, the expression crinkling the corners of her eyes. Sometimes the biggest risk is not taking one at all. That afternoon, Jinwoo arrived for what had become his unofficial role as the children's music therapist. But today he brought company. Marcus Thompson and a woman with kind eyes and a camera. "Maya, this is Rebecca Santos from the Seattle Children's Foundation," Jinwoo said. "She has a proposition for us." Rebecca stepped forward, her smile warm but professional. "Miss Washington, Mr. Park, we've been watching your story unfold, and we're inspired by the connection you've made with our pediatric patients. We'd like to offer you a partnership, a music therapy program that combines Jinwoo's musical talents with Maya's occupational therapy expertise." Maya felt her heart skip. What would that look like? Funded positions for both of you, a dedicated music therapy room, resources to expand the program to other hospitals in the Pacific Northwest. You'd be pioneers in integrative healing arts. Jinwoo's eyes found Maya's. What do you think? Maya looked around the room where Lily was showing Aiden how to hold drumsticks with limited finger mobility, where Marcus was humming Jinwoo's song while working on his coordination exercises, where 8 children who'd faced unimaginable challenges were creating joy out of healing. I think, Maya said slowly, that some opportunities are too beautiful to let fear decide for you. But even as she spoke the words, Maya could see the complications looming. Jinwoo's visa status, the media attention that would follow them everywhere, the pressure of turning their personal love story into a professional partnership. As if reading her thoughts, Rebecca added gently, "We know this is a big decision. Take your time. But Maya, these children see you as proof that surviving something terrible can make you stronger, not weaker. That's a powerful lesson to share with the world." After Rebecca left, Maya and Jinwoo sat in the empty activity room, surrounded by the colorful chaos of children's artwork and adaptive equipment. "It's a lot," Jinwoo said quietly. "Everything about us is a lot," Maya replied. "The question is whether it's worth it." Jinwoo picked up his guitar, his fingers finding the melody of the song he'd written about her. "Maya, 3 weeks ago I was a failed K-pop star hiding in Seattle coffee shops. Today, I'm sitting in a children's hospital with the woman I love, being offered a chance to use music to heal people. If that's not worth fighting for, I don't know what is." Maya touched her butterfly necklace, thinking about metamorphosis, about the courage it takes to break out of a protective cocoon and trust that you have wings. "There's something I need to tell you," she said. "Dr. Martinez offered me her position. Department head. It would mean more responsibility, more visibility, more everything." "What did you say?" "I said I'd think about it. But Jinwoo, if I take the promotion and you accept the music therapy position, we're choosing to build a life together. Not just romantically, but professionally. That's a lot of pressure on a relationship that's barely 3 weeks old." Jinwoo set down his guitar and turned to face her fully. "Maya Washington, you are the bravest person I know. You save children's lives, you heal broken spirits, and you had the courage to love me despite every reason to protect your heart. If you think we can't handle building something beautiful together, then you're underestimating us both." As Maya looked into his dark eyes, she realized that courage wasn't the absence of fear. It was choosing love despite being terrified. And for the first time since her accident, Maya Washington was ready to choose. Maya found the letter while packing up her grandmother's things from the spare bedroom, a task she'd been avoiding for 6 months since Nana's peaceful passing. The envelope was tucked inside an old jewelry box, her name written in her grandmother's careful cursive. "For Maya, when she's ready to fly." Jinwoo sat cross-legged on the bedroom floor, sorting through photo albums and helping Maya decide what to keep, what to donate, and what to treasure forever. They'd been dating officially for 2 weeks now, navigating the strange new world of being a public couple while trying to maintain some sense of normalcy. "What's that?" Jinwoo asked, noticing how Maya's hands trembled as she held the envelope. "I don't know. Something Nana left for me." Maya's voice was barely a whisper. "She always said she'd leave me something important when the time was right. Do you want me to give you privacy?" Maya looked at Jinwoo, sitting among the scattered memories of her grandmother's life, his presence both grounding and comforting. "Stay, please." She opened the envelope carefully, revealing 2 pages of her grandmother's handwriting and a small, faded photograph. Maya gasped when she saw the image. A young black woman with scars across her left cheek, standing in a hospital uniform, smiling radiantly at the camera. Is that, Jinwoo began. My grandmother, when she was my age. Maya's eyes filled with tears as she began to read. My dearest Maya, if you're reading this, then I've gone on to whatever comes next, and you're finally ready to hear the truth about courage. The photograph shows me at 28, working as a nurse in Birmingham during the civil rights movement. The scars on my face came from a bottle thrown during a protest where I was treating injured marchers. For years, I hid those scars under makeup, convinced that no one could love a marked woman. But your grandfather saw me without the makeup one morning when I was tending to his broken arm. And do you know what he said? He said, "Now I can see all of you, and you're beautiful." Maya, I gave you that butterfly necklace not because butterflies are pretty, but because they prove that breaking down is sometimes the only way to become who you're meant to be. You think your scars make you less lovable, but they make you more human. I've watched you hide for 3 years, baby girl. I've seen you pour all your love into those children at the hospital while believing you don't deserve love yourself. But love isn't earned through perfection. It's found through authenticity. By the time you read this, I suspect someone has already seen past your scars to your soul. Don't run from that, Maya. Don't let fear rob you of the love you deserve. Your scars don't make you damaged. They make you real. And real is always more beautiful than perfect. All my love. Nana Mine. P.S. The butterfly necklace has been passed down through 4 generations of strong women who learned to fly despite broken wings. It's yours now. But someday you'll pass it to another girl who needs to learn that surviving makes you gorgeous. Maya was crying before she finished reading. Great heaving sobs that seemed to come from somewhere deep in her chest. Jinwoo moved closer, wrapping his arms around her as she grieved, not just for her grandmother, but for the 3 years she'd spent believing herself unworthy of love. She knew. Maya whispered against Jinwoo's shoulder. She knew I was hiding, and she knew someone would find me anyway. She sounds like a wise woman. Maya pulled back to look at the photograph again, seeing her grandmother's scars with new eyes. She was beautiful. How did I never see how beautiful she was? The same way you couldn't see how beautiful you are, Jinwoo said softly. Sometimes we need other people to be our mirrors until we learn to see ourselves clearly. Maya touched her butterfly necklace. 4 generations of strong women, 4 generations of learning to fly despite broken wings. Jinwoo, I want to accept the job offer. Both offers. The promotion and the music therapy program. Are you sure? My grandmother spent years hiding her scars before she learned to see them as proof of her courage. I don't want to spend any more time hiding from my own life. That evening, they called Dr. Martinez and Rebecca Santos to accept the positions. They called Sarah to share the news. They even called Jinwoo's mother in Seoul, who cried with relief when she heard her son's voice filled with purpose and joy. But the most important call was to the reporter who'd been most respectful during their media frenzy, a woman named Jennifer Kim, who'd written about their story with nuance and sensitivity. We want to do one interview, Maya told her. Something honest about healing, about finding love after trauma, about building something meaningful together. But then we want privacy to do the work. Jennifer agreed immediately, understanding that Maya and Jinwoo weren't interested in prolonged fame. They wanted to use their platform to help others, and then return to the quiet work of healing children and making music that mattered. As they hung up the phone, Maya felt something she hadn't experienced in years. Excitement about the future. Not fear, not anxiety, but genuine anticipation for what they might build together. No regrets? Jinwoo asked, his arm around her shoulders as they sat on her couch, surrounded by the remnants of her grandmother's life and the blueprints of their own. Maya looked at the photograph of her grandmother, scarred and radiant and unafraid, and smiled. Only that it took me so long to get here. The interview was scheduled for a Thursday morning at the hospital, in the children's activity room where Maya and Jinwoo's love story had really begun. Jennifer Kim arrived early, setting up cameras and lighting equipment while Maya tried to calm her nerves by organizing art supplies that were already perfectly arranged. "You don't have to do this," Jinwoo reminded her for the 10th time, tuning his guitar in the corner. "We can still cancel." "I want to do this," Maya said, though her voice wavered slightly. "I want other people who are hiding to see that coming out of the shadows doesn't destroy you. It sets you free." Dr. Martinez poked her head into the room. "Your children are asking if they can watch from the viewing room." I told them this was a grown-up interview, but Lily made a very compelling argument about being your original fans. Maya laughed despite her nerves. "They can watch. Maybe they'll learn something about being brave." The interview began gently, with Jennifer asking about their work at the hospital and their plans for the music therapy program. But as Maya relaxed, the questions grew deeper. "Maya, you've mentioned that your scars came from a car accident. Can you tell us about that day?" Maya touched her butterfly necklace, drawing strength from her grandmother's legacy. "I was driving home from work 3 years ago when I saw a car accident. A little girl was trapped in the back seat, and the car was smoking. Everyone else was calling 911, but I could see that she was going to die if someone didn't act immediately." Maya's voice grew stronger as she continued. "I broke the window to get her out, and when I was pulling her free, something exploded. Glass and metal caught my face, but I got her out. She's 11 now, completely healthy, and she sends me drawings every Christmas. Do you regret saving her? Never. The scars remind me that I chose to act when it mattered. Jinwoo helped me see that they're not flaws. They're proof that I'm willing to fight for what matters." Jennifer turned to Jinwoo. "And you left a successful K-pop career because of mental health struggles. That must have been incredibly difficult." Jinwoo's fingers found Maya's hand automatically. "In Korea, there's intense pressure to be perfect, to never show weakness or authentic emotion. I had a panic attack during a live performance, and instead of getting help, I was told to hide it, to pretend it never happened. I realized I was losing myself trying to be what other people wanted me to be." "What changed when you met Maya?" "She showed me that surviving something difficult doesn't make you weak. It makes you real. And being real is more valuable than being perfect." Jennifer leaned forward. "You've both faced public scrutiny since your relationship became viral. How do you handle the pressure of being a public couple?" Maya and Jinwoo exchanged a look. They'd discussed this question extensively, knowing it would come up. "We've learned to focus on what matters," Maya said. "The children we serve, the music we create, the love we're building together. The rest is just noise." "But there have been challenges," Jennifer pressed gently. "There was speculation about Jinwoo's visa status, questions about whether this relationship is publicity-driven, criticism about your age difference and cultural backgrounds." Jinwoo's jaw tightened slightly. "People will always find reasons to doubt authentic love, especially when it doesn't fit their expectations. Maya and I know what we have is real." "Maya, how do you respond to people who say Jinwoo is settling for someone with visible scars?" The question hit like a physical blow, and Maya felt her chest tighten. In the viewing room, she could see Lily pressing her face against the glass, her small hands forming fists. But instead of retreating into old patterns of shame, Maya looked directly into the camera. "I respond by saying that anyone who sees scars as settling doesn't understand what real beauty looks like. My scars are part of my story, not the end of it. And Jinwoo doesn't see them as something to overlook. He sees them as something to celebrate." Because they're proof of her courage, Jinwoo added firmly. And courage is the most attractive quality anyone can have. Jennifer smiled. What advice would you give to other people who are hiding from love because of trauma or physical differences? Maya thought about her grandmother's letter, about 3 years of hiding, about the children who saw her scars and called them warrior marks. I would tell them that the right person won't love you despite your scars. They'll love you including them. And that waiting for someone to heal you is backwards. You heal yourself, and then you share that healing with someone brave enough to accept it. And for those struggling with mental health or identity issues, Jennifer asked Jinwoo, authenticity is scary, but it's the only path to real connection. I spent years performing a version of myself, and it nearly destroyed me. Finding Maya taught me that being vulnerable isn't weakness. It's the courage to be seen as you really are. As the interview wrapped up, Jennifer asked one final question. What's next for you both? Maya and Jinwoo looked at each other, and Maya saw her future reflected in his dark eyes. Not perfect, but real and beautiful and worth fighting for. We're going to help children heal, Maya said simply. We're going to make music that matters. And we're going to love each other despite what the world thinks about it. Because some things are too important to let other people's opinions decide for you, Jinwoo added. When the cameras stopped rolling, Lily burst through the viewing room door and launched herself into Maya's arms. Miss Maya, you were so brave, just like a real princess. Maya hugged the little girl close, breathing in the scent of hospital soap and innocence. You know what, Lily? I think I'm finally starting to believe that myself. It was 11:47 p.m. on a Tuesday when Maya's phone rang, Jinwoo's name lighting up her screen. She'd just finished her evening routine, moisturizing her scars with the special cream Dr. Martinez had recommended, braiding her hair, and settling into bed with a cup of chamomile tea. Jinwoo, is everything okay? Maya, I need to see you. Can I come over? Something in his voice made her sit up straighter. Of course. What's wrong? Nothing's wrong. Everything's right, and that's terrifying me. 20 minutes later, Maya opened her apartment door to find Jinwoo standing in the hallway, his hair messy from running his hands through it, his eyes bright with something that looked like panic and wonder in equal measure. I've been walking around the city for 2 hours, he said without preamble, trying to talk myself out of this. Out of what? Jinwoo stepped into her apartment, his presence filling the small space with nervous energy. Maya, I've been in love before. Or I thought I had. In Korea, there was a girl, a dancer from our company. We dated for a year, and I thought that was what love felt like. Comfortable, safe, predictable. Maya settled onto her couch, pulling her robe tighter around herself, sensing that Jinwoo needed to say whatever was burning inside him. But with you, Jinwoo continued, beginning to pace her small living room. Nothing is comfortable or safe or predictable. With you, I feel like I'm standing at the edge of a cliff every single day, and instead of wanting to step back, I want to jump. Jinwoo, let me finish, please. Today, when you were working with Marcus, helping him relearn how to hold a pencil, you had this look on your face, pure concentration, pure compassion. And I realized that I could watch you work for the rest of my life and never get tired of seeing you heal people. Maya felt her breath catch in her throat. And tonight, when I was walking through Pike Place Market, the same place where I first saw you, I started thinking about how you hid from me that first day, and how now you let me see you cry, and how you trust me with your fears about the scars, and how you make me want to be the kind of man who deserves someone as brave as you. Jinwoo stopped pacing and turned to face her directly. Maya, I am completely, terrifyingly, life-changingly in love with you. Not with the idea of you, not with the public version of you, but with you. The way you organize art supplies when you're anxious, the way you sing off key in the shower, the way you touch your necklace when you're gathering courage. Maya's eyes filled with tears. Jinwoo, I know it's only been a month. I know we're supposed to take things slow and be practical and think about visa issues and long-term compatibility. But Maya, I have never felt anything as certain as this. I love you, and I needed you to know that, even if it's too soon, even if it scares you. Maya stood up slowly, crossing the small space between them until she was close enough to see the gold flecks in his dark eyes, close enough to touch the small scar on his chin that he'd gotten falling off his bike as a child in Busan. Jinwoo, she said softly, her hands coming up to frame his face. I have been in love with you since the night you played for the children, and I saw how you looked at them. Not with pity, but with hope. I've been terrified to say it because I've spent 3 years believing I wasn't worth loving, and admitting I love you means admitting I'm worth being loved back. Jinwoo's smile was brighter than every star Maya had ever wished on. You are worth loving, Maya Washington. You are worth choosing every single day for the rest of my life. Even when I have bad days, even when I get scared and try to hide again, especially then. Maya rose on her tiptoes, closing the distance between them, and kissed Jinwoo with 3 years of loneliness, and 1 month of hope, and a lifetime of love she was finally brave enough to claim. When they broke apart, both breathing hard, Maya whispered against his lips, I love you too, Park Jinwoo. Scared and certain and completely. What happens now? Jinwoo asked, his forehead resting against hers. Maya thought about her grandmother's letter, about butterflies and broken wings, and the courage to fly anyway. Now, we build something beautiful together, and we trust that love is stronger than fear. That night, they fell asleep on Maya's couch, wrapped around each other like puzzle pieces that had finally found where they belonged. And for the first time since her accident, Maya Washington slept without nightmares, dreaming instead of music and laughter, and a future bright enough to chase away all her shadows. In the morning, she would wake up loved and unafraid, ready to face whatever challenges came next. But tonight, she was simply, completely, perfectly happy. The backlash came faster and harder than either of them had anticipated. 3 days after the interview aired, Maya woke up to find protesters outside the hospital with signs reading, "Stop the publicity stunt," and "Real patients need real therapy, not celebrity doctors." This is insane, Sarah said, peering through the break room blinds at the crowd below. Since when do people protest occupational therapists? Maya sat at the small table, her hands wrapped around a coffee cup that had gone cold an hour ago, scrolling through social media comments that ranged from supportive to vicious. Someone had dug up old photos from her accident, creating cruel memes about her scars. Others questioned Jinwoo's motives, suggesting he was using Maya for American citizenship and sympathy publicity. But the worst part was the impact on the children. Parents were calling to cancel therapy sessions, afraid of the media attention. The hospital administration was fielding complaints about turning pediatric care into a reality show. Maya, you need to see this. Dr. Martinez entered the break room with her laptop, her expression grim. Channel 7 just ran a segment about your relationship. They interviewed Dr. Rachel Stevens. Maya's blood turned to ice. Doctor. Stevens was a therapist she'd worked with years ago, someone who'd always resented Maya's success with the children, who'd made subtle comments about preferential treatment, and patients feeling sorry for the scarred therapist. On the laptop screen, Dr. Stevens sat in a professional-looking office, her expression carefully concerned. I've worked with Maya Washington, and while she's technically competent, I've always wondered if her patients connect with her out of genuine therapeutic rapport or out of pity for her disfigurement. Children are naturally sympathetic to visible differences. She's suggesting that my effectiveness as a therapist is based on pity, Maya whispered, feeling sick. It gets worse, Dr. Martinez said grimly, fast-forwarding the video. They also interviewed someone claiming to be Jin-woo's former manager from Korea. A man in an expensive suit spoke in accented English. Jin-woo always struggled with authenticity. In Korea, we create personas for our artists. This American girlfriend, this love story, it's very convenient for rebuilding his image after his mental breakdown. Maya closed the laptop, unable to watch anymore. They're destroying us. Maya, Sarah began, but Maya was already standing, gathering her purse. I need air. I need to think. Maya walked through the hospital corridors that had been her sanctuary for 3 years, past the children's artwork on the walls, past the photos of successful therapy sessions. But now everything felt tainted by doubt. Were her relationships with the children genuine, or were they based on pity? Was her love for Jin-woo real, or was she just a convenient narrative for his career recovery? She found Jin-woo in the activity room, sitting with 8-year-old Marcus, helping him work on finger exercises. But instead of the usual laughter, the room felt subdued. Miss Maya, Marcus called out when he saw her. My mom said people are being mean to you on TV. That's not nice. Maya's heart clenched. Some people say things when they're confused, Marcus. It's not your worry. But you help me every day. You helped my hands work again after my accident. Why would anyone be mean about that? Before Maya could answer, Jin-woo's phone rang. He glanced at the screen and his face went pale. It's my mother. Maya nodded for him to take it, watching as he walked to the corner of the room and answered in rapid Korean. Even without understanding the language, Maya could hear the distress in the older woman's voice through the phone. When Jin-woo returned, his expression was devastated. The story made news in Korea. My family is being harassed by reporters. My mother is crying, asking me to come home, saying this American romance is destroying our family's reputation. Maya felt the walls closing in. Jin-woo! She said the management company is threatening to sue me for breach of contract, claiming I'm damaging the K-pop industry's image with my mental health publicity stunt. Marcus looked between them with the intuitive wisdom of children who've faced their own crises. Are you going to stop being friends because of the mean people? Maya knelt down to Marcus's eye level, forcing herself to smile despite the chaos in her chest. Marcus, sometimes when people love each other, they have to make hard choices to protect each other. But you do love each other, right? Like in the movies? Maya looked at Jin-woo, seeing her own fear reflected in his dark eyes. Yes, sweetheart, we do. Then you fight the mean people together. That's what heroes do. As simple as that. From the mouth of an 8-year-old who'd learned to use his hands again through sheer determination and Maya's patient guidance. But as Maya looked at the man she loved, surrounded by the work they'd built together, with protesters outside and legal threats closing in, she wondered if love was really enough to fight the entire world. Because for the first time since she'd learned to be brave, Maya Washington was starting to think that maybe some battles were too big to win. Maya sat alone in her apartment at 2 a.m., surrounded by resignation letters she couldn't quite bring herself to sign. One for the hospital, withdrawing from the promotion. One for the music therapy program, canceling their partnership. One for Jin-woo, ending their relationship before it destroyed both their careers. Her phone had been silent for hours. Jin-woo was at Marcus Thompson's studio, supposedly working on music, but probably dealing with the avalanche of legal and family pressure that had descended after the Korean media picked up their story. The interview that was supposed to be their triumph had become their downfall. Maya touched her butterfly necklace, wondering if her grandmother had ever faced a choice between love and self-preservation this stark. A soft knock at her door made her jump. She opened it to find Jin-woo standing in the hallway, his eyes red-rimmed with exhaustion, his usual careful composure completely shattered. "I've been driving around for 3 hours," he said quietly. "I keep starting to go to the airport, and then I turn around and come back here." Maya's chest tightened. "You're thinking about going back to Korea?" "My lawyer says if I return voluntarily and publicly apologize for the stunt, the management company might not pursue the lawsuit. My mother says my father hasn't spoken to anyone in 2 days because of the shame." Jin-woo slumped against her door frame, looking defeated. "Maya, I'm destroying your life. The hospital board is questioning your judgment. Parents are pulling their children from your program. You're getting death threats from K-pop fans who think you're manipulating me. And you're getting sued by your former company and disowned by your family because of me," Maya replied, stepping aside to let him in. They sat on her couch, the same couch where they'd first said "I love you" just days ago. But now the space between them felt like an ocean. "Maybe everyone's right," Maya whispered. "Maybe this is all moving too fast, too public, too complicated. Maybe we're being selfish, thinking love is enough when there are so many other people being hurt." Jin-woo was quiet for a long moment, staring at his hands. "In Korea, there's a concept called jong. It's about deep emotional connections that transcend individual happiness. Sometimes jong means sacrificing what you want for the people you love." Maya felt tears starting. "Are you saying we should end this?" "I'm saying I love you too much to watch you lose everything because of me. Your career, your reputation, your peace. You built all of that before I came along. You'll be fine without me." "And you?" Jin-woo's smile was heartbreaking. "I'll go back to Korea. I'll apologize. I'll probably end up in therapy and mandatory military service, but my family will be safe from scandal, and you can go back to helping children without cameras following you everywhere." Maya stood up abruptly, pacing to her window. Outside, Seattle sparkled in the darkness, the same city where she'd learned to hide and then learned to be seen, where she'd fallen in love and was now learning to let it go. "Is that what you want?" she asked without turning around. "What I want is to wake up next to you every morning for the next 50 years and write songs about how your laugh sounds like hope. What I want is to grow old watching you heal children and teach them that scars are beautiful. What I want is impossible." Maya turned to face him, seeing the man who'd changed her life sitting broken on her couch, ready to sacrifice his happiness for hers. "Jin-woo, what if we're giving up too easily?" "Maya, no, listen. What if all this chaos is just people being afraid of something real? What if the reason everyone's so determined to tear us apart is because what we have actually threatens their ideas about who deserves love and happiness?" Jin-woo looked up at her, hope and despair warring in his expression. "What are you saying?" Maya touched her butterfly necklace, thinking about her grandmother's scars, about the children who called her Mark's warrior scars, about the choice between safety and authenticity. "I'm saying maybe the bravest thing we can do is refuse to let other people's fear decide our future. Maybe fighting for this isn't selfish. Maybe it's necessary. Maya, the cost of giving up is higher. Jin-woo, if we walk away from this, we're telling every scared kid who's ever felt different that love isn't worth fighting for. We're telling everyone who's ever hidden their scars that they were right to stay invisible." Maya sat back down next to him, taking his hands in hers. I've spent 3 years hiding from my own life. I'm not going to hide from love, too. Jinwoo stared at their intertwined fingers, his thumb tracing over her knuckles. What if we lose everything? Then we lose it together, and we build something new. For the first time all night, Jinwoo smiled, not the devastated smile of defeat, but the determined smile of someone ready to fight. Okay, he said softly, but we do this smart. We get allies. We control our own narrative, and we protect the children above everything else. Maya leaned into him, breathing in his familiar scent of guitar strings and hope. So we're really doing this? Fighting the world for the right to love each other? Maya Washington, you taught me that courage isn't the absence of fear. It's choosing love anyway. So yeah, we're doing this. As dawn broke over Seattle, Maya and Jinwoo sat together planning their counterattack, ready to prove that some love stories are worth every battle they require. The children saved them. It started with Lily, who convinced her grandmother to set up a Facebook page called Maya's Warriors, where parents could share stories about how Maya had helped their children. Within 24 hours, the page had 5,000 members and growing. 8-year-old Marcus, whose fine motor skills Maya had helped restore after his climbing accident, recorded a video with his mother's phone. Miss Maya taught me that my hands could work again, even after they were broken. She has warrior marks on her face because she saved a little girl. Why are people being mean to heroes? The video went viral in 6 hours. Dr. Martinez called Maya at 7 a.m. on Friday morning. Maya, you need to get to the hospital. Now. Maya and Jinwoo arrived to find the hospital lobby packed with families. Current patients, former patients, parents Maya had worked with over the years. They were holding signs that read, "Maya saved my child," and "Warriors stand together," and "Love is louder than hate." Lily wheeled forward in her chair, wearing a homemade t-shirt that said Team Maya in purple glitter letters. "Miss Maya, we made a surprise for you." The surprise was a wall of photos in the pediatric wing. Hundreds of pictures of children Maya had worked with, each one holding a sign with a message. "Thank you for helping me walk again. Thank you for teaching me to be brave. Thank you for showing me that different is beautiful." Maya stood in front of the photo wall, tears streaming down her face, as children and parents surrounded her with hugs and words of support. "Miss Maya," 10-year-old Aiden said seriously, "my mom said people on TV were saying mean things about you. But that's dumb, because you're the nicest person ever, and you helped my hands work again after my accident." Sarah appeared at Maya's elbow with her phone. "Maya, you need to see this. The hospital's social media has been flooded with support. Parents are sharing their stories, medical professionals are defending your work, and someone started a petition to make you the poster child for pediatric occupational therapy." But it was Dr. Stevens, the same Dr. Stevens who'd questioned Maya's methods on television, who provided the most surprising support. She arrived at the hospital that afternoon, with a camera crew from the same news station. "I owe Maya Washington a public apology," Dr. Stevens said into the camera, standing in front of the photo wall of children. "I spoke from jealousy and professional insecurity, not from fact. Maya's success with pediatric patients isn't based on pity. It's based on her extraordinary ability to connect with children who've experienced trauma. She understands their journey because she's walked it herself." Dr. Stevens turned to face Maya directly. "Maya, I'm sorry. Your scars don't make you less professional. They make you more effective, because these children see in you the proof that survival is possible." The Korean support came next, led by Jinwoo's former bandmate, Tae-min, who posted a video on Instagram defending Jinwoo's choice to pursue authentic music and real love over manufactured fame. "Jinwoo is my brother," Taemin said in accented English, addressing the camera directly. "I watched him almost die from the pressure of being perfect. If he found love and healing in America, then I support him completely. Mental health matters more than image." The video was shared by other K-pop artists, by mental health advocates, by Korean Americans who understood the pressure of living between two cultures. But the moment that changed everything came when the little girl Maya had saved 3 years ago, now 11-year-old Emma Chen, showed up at the hospital with her parents. Emma had grown into a beautiful, confident child with long black hair and bright eyes. She marched straight up to Maya and hugged her tightly around the waist. "I saw the mean people on TV," Emma said clearly. "They don't know that you're the reason I'm alive. They don't know that your scars are the most beautiful thing in the world because they mean you were brave enough to save me." Emma turned to the cameras that had been following the story all day. "Miss Maya has scars because she broke a car window to save my life. If you think that makes her ugly, then you don't understand what beautiful really means." That night, Maya and Jinwoo sat in the activity room, surrounded by get-well cards, support letters, and flowers sent by strangers who'd been moved by their story. The protesters were gone, replaced by supporters. The hospital administration had issued a statement backing Maya completely and announcing the expansion of the music therapy program. "I can't believe this," Maya whispered, holding a drawing from a 6-year-old in Portland who'd heard their story and wanted Maya to know that she thought scars were proof that good people fight bad things. Jinwoo pulled out his guitar and began playing softly. Not the song he'd written about Maya, but a new melody, something that sounded like hope and gratitude, and the knowledge that love really could conquer fear when it had enough people fighting for it. "What's that song?" Maya asked. "It's called Little Heroes," Jinwoo said, his fingers finding the chords that told the story of children brave enough to stand up for the adults who'd cared for them. "It's about how sometimes the people we try to protect end up protecting us instead." Maya looked around the room where she'd learned to heal others and had finally learned to heal herself, where she'd met the love of her life and discovered that courage was contagious. "Jinwoo? Yeah? I think we're going to be okay." And as the music filled the space between them, Maya Washington finally understood what her grandmother had meant about butterflies. Sometimes you have to let the whole world see your wings before you truly know you can fly. 6 months later, Maya stood at the entrance to Pike Place Market, holding Jinwoo's hand and watching the early morning bustle of vendors setting up their stalls. It was almost exactly 1 year since the rainy day when she'd dropped her files and he'd picked up her photograph, when two broken people had found each other in the most ordinary of moments. "Are you nervous?" Jinwoo asked, adjusting the small microphone clip to his collar. "Terrified," Maya admitted, touching her butterfly necklace. "But good terrified." Today marked the official launch of their documentary, Scars and Songs, A Love Story of Healing, which had been filmed over the past 4 months by a team who'd become deeply invested in their journey. The film followed Maya and Jinwoo through their work at the hospital, showed the children they served, and told the story of how love could bloom in the most unexpected places. But more importantly, today they were launching the Warrior Scars Foundation, a nonprofit organization dedicated to providing music and art therapy to children dealing with trauma and physical differences. The foundation had already raised enough money to expand their program to 5 hospitals across the Pacific Northwest. "Maya, Jinwoo!" Lily called out, racing toward them in her new leg braces, the result of successful surgery that had finally allowed her to walk again. "We're all here." Behind Lily came a parade of children and families Maya had worked with over the years. Along with Sarah and David, Dr. Martinez and her husband, Marcus Thompson, and even Rebecca Santos from the Children's Foundation. "This is incredible," Maya breathed, seeing the crowd that had gathered to support them. The morning passed in a blur of interviews, photographs, and performances. Jinwoo played acoustic versions of the songs he'd written about their journey, while Maya spoke about the power of seeing trauma as a source of strength rather than shame. But the most moving moment came when Emma Chen, now 12 and radiant with confidence, took the microphone to speak about the woman who'd saved her life. "Maya Washington taught me that scars are just proof that you were stronger than whatever tried to hurt you," Emma said, her voice clear and steady. "She showed me that surviving something terrible doesn't make you broken. It makes you a warrior." Maya wiped away tears as Emma continued. "I used to be scared that people would stare at Miss Maya's scars when we went places together. But then I realized that they should stare, because her face tells the story of the bravest thing anyone has ever done for me." After Emma's speech, Maya found herself standing exactly where she'd been that first rainy morning, the spot where her files had scattered and her life had changed forever. Jinwoo appeared beside her with his guitar, the same battered acoustic that had been his companion through his darkest days. "Full circle," he said softly. "Not quite," Maya replied, pulling something from her purse. It was the original photograph he'd returned to her, the image of her surrounded by smiling children, her scars visible and her joy unguarded. "I want to give this back to you," she said. "You saw something in this picture that I couldn't see myself. You saw someone worth loving." Jinwoo took the photograph, studying it with the same wonder he'd felt that first day. "Maya, you want to know what I really saw in this picture?" "What?" "Home. I saw home before I even knew your name." Maya felt the truth of those words settle into her bones, warm and permanent and real. For 3 years after her accident, she'd believed that home was a place of hiding, of safety, through isolation. But Jinwoo had taught her that home was actually a person who saw all your broken places and chose to stay anyway. "I have something for you too," Jinwoo said, pulling a small velvet box from his jacket pocket. Maya's breath caught. "Jinwoo." "Maya Washington," he said, dropping to one knee right there in Pike Place Market, in front of their families and friends and the cameras that had documented their journey. "You taught me that love isn't about finding someone perfect. It's about finding someone brave enough to be imperfect with you." Maya's hands flew to her mouth as Jinwoo opened the box to reveal a ring unlike anything she'd ever seen. A vintage setting with a butterfly-shaped diamond, delicate and strong and absolutely perfect. "You taught me that scars are beautiful, that authenticity matters more than perfection, and that sometimes the most broken people are capable of the most extraordinary love. Maya, will you marry me?" The crowd around them had gone silent, everyone holding their breath as Maya stared down at the man who'd changed her entire world. "Jinwoo," she whispered, loud enough for everyone to hear. "I used to think my scars meant I was too damaged to deserve love, but you taught me they just mean I'm brave enough to fight for it." She knelt down to meet him at eye level, framing his face with her hands. "Yes, Park Jinwoo. Yes to marriage. Yes to building a life together. Yes to all of it." The crowd erupted in cheers as Jinwoo slipped the butterfly ring onto Maya's finger, as perfect a fit as everything else about their impossible, beautiful love story. When they kissed, surrounded by the people who'd supported them through every battle, Maya felt something she'd never experienced before. The absolute certainty that she was exactly where she belonged, with exactly the person who was meant to find her. As they broke apart, both laughing and crying, Lily's voice cut through the celebration. "Miss Maya, does this mean Jinwoo gets to be our music teacher forever?" Forever and always, Maya called back, her hand in Jinwoo's, her butterfly necklace catching the Seattle sunshine like a promise of all the beautiful transformations still to come. 2 years later, Maya Washington Park stood in the brand new Warrior Scars Music Therapy Center, watching her husband teach a group of children how to write songs about their own journeys of healing. The center was everything they'd dreamed of. Bright, welcoming spaces filled with instruments and art supplies, therapy rooms designed for both individual and group sessions, and walls covered with artwork created by the children they served. "All right, everyone," Jinwoo said to the group of 8 children gathered in a circle, each holding simple instruments. "Today we're going to write a song about something that makes you strong. Maya, want to start us off?" Maya settled into the circle, her 6-month pregnancy just beginning to show under her loose sweater. She touched her butterfly necklace, now joined by her wedding ring and a small charm Jinwoo had given her on their first anniversary. "I'll start," she said, smiling at the familiar faces around her. Lily, now 14 and walking confidently with her braces. Marcus, 13 and preparing for high school with full use of his hands. Emma Chen, 15, and volunteering at the center every weekend. And 6 new children, each carrying their own stories of survival. Maya strummed the simple guitar Jinwoo had taught her to play. "I used to hide from mirrors," she sang softly. "Thought my scars made me wrong. But then I learned that warrior marks are proof that I was strong." One by one, the children added their verses. Lily sang about learning to dance again after her spinal surgery. Marcus contributed a line about art therapy, helping him express feelings he didn't have words for. A new patient, 7-year-old David, sang shyly about how the other kids at the center made him feel normal and special at the same time. But it was Emma who brought tears to Maya's eyes with her contribution. "Miss Maya taught me scars are beautiful. They show the world you're brave. Her face tells the story of the day she saved my life that day." After the session, as the children worked on individual art projects, Maya found herself standing in front of the center's memorial wall, a collection of photographs and stories about children they'd worked with who hadn't survived their battles. It was the hardest part of their work, but also the most important reminder of why they did what they did. Thinking deep thoughts, Jinwoo appeared beside her, as he always seemed to when she needed him most. "Thinking about how different life is now," Maya said, leaning into his warmth. 2 years ago, I was hiding from everything that scared me. Now I'm married to my best friend, running a therapy center, and about to become a mother. Any regrets?" Maya looked around the center, at children painting murals, at teenagers recording songs about their journeys, at parents learning how to support their kids' healing processes. Through the large windows, she could see the Seattle skyline, the same city where she'd learned to stop hiding and start living. Only that it took me so long to believe I deserved this happiness. Jinwoo's hand found hers, their wedding rings catching the afternoon light. "Maya, there's something I need to tell you. I got a call from the documentary producers this morning." Maya felt a familiar flutter of anxiety. The documentary about their love story had won several awards and had been instrumental in raising awareness about trauma-informed therapy. But with success came attention, and Maya still sometimes struggled with being in the public eye. "They want to do a follow-up film," Jinwoo continued. "About the center, about how we've grown, about the impact of the foundation. But Maya, we can say no. We've given enough of our privacy to help other people." Maya was quiet for a moment, watching Emma help a newer patient navigate the art supplies. The teenager who'd once been a scared 7-year-old trapped in a car was now confident, compassionate, and determined to become a pediatric social worker herself. "What do you think?" Maya asked. "I think," Jinwoo said carefully, that our story has helped a lot of people see that trauma doesn't have to be the end of someone's story. It can be the beginning of something beautiful. But I also think we've earned the right to live our lives without cameras documenting every milestone. The choice is yours, Maya. It's always been yours. Maya touched her growing belly, thinking about the daughter who would arrive in 6 months. A daughter who would grow up knowing that her parents had fought for the right to love each other, who would learn that scars were beautiful and authenticity was more valuable than perfection. One more documentary, Maya decided. But this time it's not about us. It's about them. She gestured to the children filling the center with laughter and music and hope. It's about showing the world what healing looks like when you give kids permission to be both broken and beautiful. Are you sure? Maya looked at her husband, the man who'd seen her scars and called them proof of courage, who'd taught her that love wasn't about finding someone to complete you, but about finding someone brave enough to grow alongside you. Jin-woo, 3 years ago, I thought my story ended in that car accident. But it turns out that was just the prologue. The real story is everything that came after: the healing, the love, the family we've built, the children we've helped find their own voices. She turned back to the memorial wall, reading the names of the children they'd loved and lost, the ones whose battles had ended differently, but whose courage had inspired countless others. I want people to know that survival is just the beginning. The real miracle is what you build with the pieces that are left. That evening, as Maya and Jin-woo locked up the center and walked hand in hand to their car, Maya felt a deep sense of completeness. Not because her life was perfect. They still faced challenges, still dealt with difficult days, still worked with children whose outcomes weren't always happy. But because she'd learned the difference between healing and being healed. Healing was an active choice, a daily decision to choose growth over fear, connection over isolation, hope over despair. Being healed was a destination that didn't exist, but healing was a journey that made every step worthwhile. Maya? Jin-woo said, as they drove through the Seattle streets where their love story had begun. Thank you. For what? For being brave enough to let me love you. For teaching me that scars are just love marks from the universe. For showing me that the most broken people are capable of the most extraordinary love. Maya looked out at the city lights blurring past the windows, thinking about all the broken people finding their way to healing. All the children learning that different could be beautiful. All the families discovering that love really could conquer fear when it had enough people fighting for it. Thank you, she said, for seeing me before I learned to see myself. As they pulled into their driveway, no longer the penthouse but a house with a yard where their daughter could play, Maya realized that being seen wasn't the terrifying exposure she'd always imagined. Being seen was coming home. 6 months later, Maya held her newborn daughter in the same hospital room where she'd once worked as a therapist, marveling at the perfect tiny fingers and the wisps of dark hair that reminded her so much of Jin-woo. Sophia Jin Park had arrived exactly on schedule, as if she'd been waiting for the perfect moment to join their family. She's beautiful, Jin-woo whispered, his voice thick with emotion, as he traced their daughter's cheek with one gentle finger. Just like her mother. She has your stubborn chin, Maya observed, smiling through tears of exhaustion and overwhelming love. Ha-eun, for that had become their pet name for Emma, who'd become like a daughter to them through years of mentorship, burst into the room with Sarah, both of them carrying balloons and flowers, and barely contained excitement. "Can I hold her?" Emma asked, her eyes bright with wonder. "I promise I'll be super careful." As Maya carefully transferred the baby to Emma's arms, she watched the teenager who'd grown from the scared child she'd saved into a confident young woman who was already making a difference in other people's lives. Emma handled Sophia with the natural grace of someone who'd learned that precious things required gentle care. "She's perfect," Emma breathed. "Look, she's already reaching for music." Indeed, Sophia's tiny fist was stretched toward the small music box Maya had brought from home, the one that played Jinwoo's first composition about finding love in unexpected places. "Speaking of music," Sarah said with a mischievous smile, "there's someone here who wants to meet the newest member of the Warrior Scars family." The door opened to reveal Dr. Martinez, now in her 70s, but still radiating the warmth and wisdom that had guided Maya through her darkest years. Behind her walked a familiar figure that made Maya's heart leap with surprise and joy. Park So-young, the journalist who'd helped expose the truth about Maya and Jinwoo's story, entered carrying a small wrapped gift and wearing the smile of someone who'd become family rather than just a professional contact. "I hope you don't mind the intrusion," So-young said. "But when Dr. Martinez told me Sophia had arrived, I couldn't stay away. This little one is going to grow up in a world that's safer and more honest because of what her parents fought for." Maya felt tears starting again. Not from sadness, but from the overwhelming gratitude of seeing how their journey had connected them to people who'd become chosen family. Dr. Martinez, who'd guided her toward courage. Sarah, who'd refused to let her hide from life. So-young, who'd helped them transform their private pain into public healing. "There's something else," Dr. Martinez said gently. "The documentary premiered last night. Early reviews are calling it transformative and essential viewing for anyone working with traumatized children. More importantly," So-young added, "it's already generated enough donations to expand the Warrior Scars program to 10 more cities. Maya, Jinwoo, you've started something that's going to help thousands of children." As the afternoon wore on, more visitors came to meet Sophia and celebrate the newest addition to their extended family. Marcus, now a confident teenager who served as a peer mentor at the center. Lily, who'd become an accomplished dancer and advocate for disability awareness. Even some of Maya's original patients from the hospital, now young adults who'd gone on to build their own meaningful lives. But it was when the room finally quieted and Maya was alone with Jinwoo and Sophia that the most meaningful conversation took place. "I've been thinking about her name," Jinwoo said softly, cradling their daughter while Maya rested. "Sophia Jin? I thought we'd decided not her official name, her story name, the name that will carry her through whatever challenges she faces." Maya looked at him questioningly. "Sophia the Brave," Jinwoo explained. "Daughter of Maya the Warrior and Jinwoo the Dreamer. Sister to Emma the Survivor, and all the children who've learned that broken can become beautiful." Maya felt something shift in her chest. Not the familiar flutter of anxiety, but the deep settling of absolute peace. Their daughter would grow up knowing that she was part of something larger than herself, connected to a community of people who'd learned to transform pain into purpose. "I love it," Maya whispered. "But Jinwoo, what happens when she gets old enough to ask about my scars? About our story? About why her parents' love story is documented in films and articles? We tell her the truth, that sometimes the most broken people find the most beautiful love. That scars are proof of survival, not signs of damage. That her mother was brave enough to save a child, and strong enough to save herself." Maya looked down at Sophia, sleeping peacefully in her father's arms, and saw the future stretching out before them. Not perfect, but real. There would be challenges, questions, moments when their daughter would struggle with the weight of being part of a public story. But there would also be love, support, and the knowledge that she belonged to a family and community that chose healing over hiding. "There's one more thing," Jinwoo said, his voice carrying a familiar note of nervous excitement. "What now?" "The Seoul Philharmonic called. They want to commission a piece for their family concert series. Something about hope and healing and second chances." He paused. "They want both of us to write it, together." Maya stared at him. "A full orchestral piece?" "Jinwoo, I haven't composed anything beyond simple melodies for the children." "You've been composing healing for 3 years. Every session at the center, every conversation with a scared child, every moment you choose courage over fear. That's composition. That's creating something beautiful from broken pieces." As if responding to the music in their voices, Sophia stirred in Jinwoo's arms, her tiny mouth forming what looked almost like a smile. "She likes the idea," Maya said, laughing through tears that seemed to be her constant companion these days. Tears of joy, gratitude, and overwhelming love for the life they'd built together. "So do I," Jinwoo said, leaning over to kiss Maya's forehead. "So do I." The evening sun streamed through the hospital room windows, painting everything in golden light. Outside, Seattle hummed with its endless rhythms of ambition and survival. 8 million people pursuing their own complicated relationships with love and loss, and the courage to rebuild after devastating mistakes. But in room 314, a family rested in the certainty that whatever challenges came next, they would face them together. Scarred but not broken, changed but not defeated, and absolutely certain that love really was the most powerful force for healing in the universe. Maya looked at her husband holding their daughter, at the cards and flowers from their chosen family, at the window that showed a city where thousands of children were learning that different could be beautiful and wounded could become whole. "Jinwoo?" "Yeah, I think we did it. We took all the broken pieces and built something worth keeping." "Maya Washington Park," he said, his voice full of wonder and gratitude. "We didn't just build something worth keeping. We built something worth sharing with the world." And as the first stars appeared over Seattle, 3 generations of love settled into the quiet rhythm of family. Imperfect, scarred, absolutely beautiful, and finally, completely home. In the months that followed, Maya and Jinwoo's symphony, Scars and Songs a Healing, premiered to standing ovations across 3 continents. The Warrior Scars Foundation expanded to help children in dozens of cities learn that survival was just the beginning of their stories. And Sophia Jin Park grew up knowing that she was living proof that the most beautiful love stories are written not in perfection, but in the daily choice to see each other's wounds as doorways to deeper connection. She thought her scars made her unlovable, until a young singer saw the beauty hidden in her pain. But what they discovered together was something even more powerful than love. They discovered that healing, shared, becomes hope for everyone brave enough to believe that their broken pieces can become the foundation for something extraordinary. Sometimes the most dangerous thing you can do is let someone see you completely, and sometimes it's the only thing that can save you.